Welcome to Heaven vs. Hell, a dynamic role-playing game in which you control the fate and the story of the universe. This is maybe one of the first of its kind. I played a lot of games in the past. It's been a while. I kind of forgot. But I don't really think that there's many games out there where the player base actually control the storyline. And there's the game is going to be PvE and PvP, so player versus player and player versus environment. We have so many things in the work, and I'm just so excited to share this launch day with you. And we're here, Heaven vs. Hell is officially out. And today, we're just going to have fun and discuss the gameplay. I will upload more different videos onto the YouTube channel with more advanced things and our mission and then certain details. But right now, we're having a launch day, and I just want to teach you guys to learn how to play the game. Alright, so before you start the game, you pick a game mode, and today we're going to play hardcore classic format. You guys don't have to worry about the hardcore and softcore, but we do have softcore and we do have hardcore mode in this game. The classic format is a 70 card deck for both players, and the layout of the game is that the top right is the graveyard, the left corner here with the white square where my mouse is hovering is the shield arsenal pile. Empty space here is the exile pile. So graveyard, shield, arsenal cards, and the exile pile. So the goal of the game is that there's no life total points. There's no life points. There's no pen and paper. There's none of that. You do not need a pen and paper in this game. If we do want to go an old traditional route with life points, we'll think about it, but in this game, there is no life points. The win condition of this game is that you have to destroy all the anthems, equipments, and land cards the opponent controls. And I'll get more specific with that later. But we're going to keep it really simple, and we're just going to do things the basic way. Alright, so I'm going to teach you guys how to play Heaven vs. Hell after you pick your game mode. And today we're playing Hardcore Classic, which the classic deck is 70 cards. Once you pick your deck and both opponents are ready to go, he has his 70 cards, you have your 70 cards. You get to roll a dice to see who goes first. So whoever gets the winning roll gets to choose to go first or second. I roll a 6, so if my opponent rolled a 5, 4, or whatever, now I get to decide who gets to go first or second. So what we're going to choose... I'm going to go first because I'm playing a Super Rush Templar deck. So I choose to go first, and my opponent is ready to go. So you draw your 10 cards. Alright, let's see what we got. We got 3 lands, 5 creatures, and 2 spells. Perfect. So once you draw your 10 cards, then you double check with your opponent, be like, okay, I'm ready to go. And then when your opponent's ready to go, then you get to play first. So what we're going to do is that when we have 3 lands, so you're only allowed to play 1 land per turn. So we're going to play 1 land, and then what the land does is that if you tap it, you add 1 resource to the summoning pool. So when we look at the cards in our hand, we have Shocking, which costs 1. It's a spell that does 1 damage to any target. The Templar Runner, the casting cost is on the top left, so where the 1 is on the top left. The bottom left is the Shield Arsenal card, and the bottom right is the attack and life of the creature. So when we look at the abilities of the creature, we see that the creature has haste. With haste, when it gets summoned, it does not need to rest. So when creatures get summoned in this game, they have to rest before they can do anything. But if a creature with haste, they can literally come in the battlefield and attack the same turn, and they do not have to rest. So the casting cost of the Templar Runner is 1. We have 1 land, so we're going to tap the land, play the Templar Runner, and then we're going to attack for 1. So we're going to do 1 damage to the opponent, and when he takes 1 damage, then he takes the top card of his library into the graveyard. So since there was actually a land card that was on the top, the creature also has another ability called Holy Crusade. What Holy Crusade does is that anytime a land, anthem, or equipment goes to the graveyard from the library, so when you attack the opponent and the cards go from the library to the graveyard, which is going to be like this. If it's a land, anthem, or equipment, you roll a dice. So since it was only one land, you get to roll a dice. So if you roll a 5 or 6, you gain control of the land. Ooh, we did not get the roll, so we would not gain control of the land. But let's say, for example, it did roll a 5. So we did get the winning roll, and what would happen is that you would actually take control of the land, and it would come into play tapped under your control. So you just stole literally the opponent's card. If you look in history back in the day in the Holy Crusades, back when the Templars were around a long time ago, they would actually, take over, like Jerusalem and all these other places. Any place that they raided, they would take over. And sometimes when they took it over, they would actually destroy it. So that's why we have a dice roll, is because, like, even though they might gain control of that location, they can destroy it in a sense. But yeah, you roll a 5, you gain control of the land, then you have nothing else you can do. You're tapped out. Your creature's tapped, and then you just pass the turn to your opponent, and then he passes the turn back to you. And then when it's your turn, you may. So this is very, very important. You may untap all your creatures. Some creatures, you actually, their abilities want, like there's some lands, abilities, and creatures that you actually want to keep your creature tapped. So it's a choice to untap your permanents on the field. So we're going to untap all our guys, and then we're going to draw 1 card for the turn. So every time the start of your turn, you always draw 1 card. And again, we repeat the cycle. We play 1 land. So now we have 3 mana. So now what we're going to do is actually play 3 Templar Runners, because that was a really good edge that we stole that land and gained control of that land. And now we just now we have 4 creatures to attack with. So now we're going to attack with 4 creatures at the opponent. And then now he loses 4 cards for the top of his library. So yes, that is a simple, basic tutorial of going back and forth. More advanced videos will be on separate videos, like tacking and blocking, tacking individually, tacking into the group, blocking individually, and blocking in a group. So there's a lot of mechanics that are a little bit more advanced, but right now this is the very basics, and it's just very fast paced. You just go back and forth and to all that stuff. So the next part is going to be like the shield arsenal cards and the win condition. Shield arsenal cards. So shield arsenal cards is the marking on the bottom left, and what shield arsenal cards is basically it's a defensive card to block damage going to the library. So what happens is that, let's say your opponent attacks, this is his creatures, he's coming at you for 5 damage. He's coming at you for 5 damage, and you're sitting there like, okay, like he's going to hit me for 5. Do I take the 5 damage? Do I take the 5 damage from the library? Or do I want to use the shield arsenal and block all that damage? And of course, I will block with the shield arsenal card. So the card that I'm playing to block in the shield arsenal, this is the shield arsenal pile left of the library right here. You put it here, and what it says is that it blocks 5 damage. So basically, when this 5 damage successfully hits the opponent, that is 5 damage. Instead of losing 5 cards from the library, I decided to discard a card from my hand with the arsenal payment of 5 damage, and it soaks up 5 damage. And that is it. That's it. No damage goes to me in my library, but I did lose a card out of my hand, which will, if you keep sacrificing cards from your hand to block to the library, eventually you're going to run out of tempo, and eventually the opponent will trample you and, get through eventually. Let's say for the rest of the game we've been blocking, we just sacrificed everything, we dumped everything into our hand. We dumped everything into our hand, right? Everything goes here, and that's it. So when the moment that your opponent hits you, let's get rid of 1 card to make it 5. So you just dumped your hand, you have 5 cards in the library, now your opponent is swinging you for 5 cards. He's swinging for 5 cards, hitting you for 5 damage, and that's it. Your rest of the cards go in your library, and you enter siege break mode. And now all your lands, all your anthems and equipments are attackable, and if they destroy your lands and your equipments and your anthems, you lose the game. So what happens when you enter siege break mode, all the shield arsenal cards that are put here get shuffled back into the reinforcement pile here. And you draw 5 cards. Even if you did the siege break mode once, you still shuffle your shield arsenal cards. If you build up another shield arsenal card again for the second time, and you shuffle it to the library. But the difference here is that last time you drew 5, now you draw 4. So now you only draw 4. And the same thing happens again. Then you draw 3. And if it happens again, you draw 2. And if it happens again, you draw 1, and then you draw nothing. So if that phase, if this keeps happening over and over again, it just keeps being reduced by 1. And also with the shield arsenal cards, is that if someone attacks your land, you can actually use the shield arsenal cards to block your lands and your anthems with the shield arsenal cards. So you have to pay attention of what strategies and what angles that you're going to go into when you're dealing with shield arsenal cards. The win condition of Heaven versus Hell, siege break mode. Alright, so we have 4 Templar runners, we have 3 cards in our hand, we have 2 lightning spells, and 1 Templar runner creature in our hand. Our opponent only has 1 land, 1 creature, and 1 card in his library. So, what we're going to do is that we're going to try to win the game on this turn. So what we're going to do is that we're going to tap our land. We're going to play Shocking, which does 1 damage to any target, and I'm going to choose the player, which puts his card into the graveyard. So now the player has entered siege break mode, so now all his lands, anthems, and equipments are now attackable, so now I can attack his lands. So that is done. I'm going to tap another land, and I'm going to play Shocking on the Templar runner, because it only has 1 life, and Shocking does 1 damage, killing the Templar runner. And then I'm going to play the Templar runner, and I'm going to swing for 5 Templar runners, doing 5 damage to his land because it has 5 life, destroying his land, and then I just won the game. And yes, that was the win condition of Heaven versus Hell. I hope you enjoyed the long, basic, lengthy tutorial, and I want you guys to have a wonderful day.